Hello, boys and girls. Welcome to revision of Term 1 lesson. I hope you're having a lovely day. Let us revise the work. Now, the first section we did were whole numbers. And here's the commutative property of whole numbers. Now, commutative property, when adding or multiplying whole numbers, the order does not affect the answer. So the keyword here is the order. So, for example, 2 plus 3 is the same as saying 3 plus 2. And 3 times 5 is the same as 5 times 3. So the order does not matter because 3 times 5 will still give you 15 as well as 5 times 3 giving you 15. Now your next property is the associative property. And with the associative property, it's with regards to grouping. The grouping does not affect the answer. So if we look at 3 plus 2 plus 4, you can either group 3 plus 2 first, or you can group 2 plus 4 first, but both will give you the same answer. 3 plus 2 is 5, 5 plus 4 is 9. And if you look at on the right-hand side, 2 plus 4 is 6, and 3 plus a 6 will still give me 9. So the order of grouping, this is the order of the numbers, and associative has to do with brackets, so it's the grouping that does not, it's not important, the order of the grouping. You can group any two numbers first. The next one is distributive property. Distributive property is about multiplying terms inside the bracket, by multiplying terms inside the bracket. So we have 4 times 3 plus 8. So you multiply 4 into the bracket, 4 times 3, and then the 4 times the 8. Here there's a negative sign, so we're subtracting the two terms. So we're subtracting here. 4 times 3 minus 4 times 8. Now in this examples, you will see I have the letters A, B throughout, or A, B, C. A and B stands for any number. So A could be, for example, 2, A could be 3, B could be 3, B could be 5. So A and B is the general explanation of these properties, where A and B could represent any number, any whole number. Now, the next concept is identity element. 0 is the additive identity for whole numbers. So your identity element for whole numbers is 0. Now, identity element means it does not change the value of the original number. So we look at 4 plus 0. 4 plus 0 is equal to 0 plus 4 is equal to 4. So 0 does not change the value. The original number was 4. Now, if you look at multiplicative identity, 1 is the multiplicative identity for the whole numbers. 1 does not change the whole number. So 4 times 1 is the same thing as 1 times 4. So your multiplicative identity for whole numbers, that is 1, and for addition, it's 0. So multiplication is 1 identity element and addition is 0, because 0 does not change the 4 in addition and 1 does not change the 4. In this example, the 4 in multiplication. So you multiply any number by 1, the number will still be your answer. In terms of the division property, any whole number divided by 0 is undefined. So you cannot have 6 divided by 0, it's undefined. 0 divided by 6 is 0. Now 6 divided by 0, if you remember, I told you that we can use it as if it's an egg, and you cannot sit on an egg. So you cannot go 6, look at 6 divided by 0. So you cannot have 0 at the bottom. You cannot sit on an egg. Right, you know what happens when you sit on an egg that has not been cooked, right? So you cannot sit on 0. So 6 cannot be, you cannot divide 6 by 0. That is not possible. It's an undefined answer. The next concept we will discuss is ratio and rate, or concepts. Right? Ratio is a comparison of two quantities of the same kind. For example, if the instructions on a concentrated fruit drink read mix 1 part concentrate to 4 parts water. Now we are comparing either milliliters or liters. It's the same type of quantity. So the ratio of concentrate is 1:4. It could also be 1 cup water and 4 cups. 1 cup concentrate and 4 cups water. So we're comparing cups to cups. Or 1 liter concentrate and 4 liters water when you're mixing bulk concentrated fruit drink. So the quantities are of the same kind. That is your ratio. Now, rate is when we compare two quantities of different kinds. So for example, we say a car is traveling at 80 kilometers per hour. Here is distance and here is time. It's two different quantities or two different aspects. So we're looking at speed, or we're looking at, in this case, distance, your kilometers an hour. Here it could have been 1 cup to 4 cups. So it will be the same kind. This is different. Now with rate, remember DST or DSTV, we're looking upside down via. So DST, your distance is speed times time. Your speed is distance over time, and your time is distance over speed. So you're working any of the bottom one, it could be distance divided by the other. But if you're working out distance, it is speed times time. That's the formula we're going to use. We do have application that we did for revision. So for now, this is just the concept that you need to remember and understand. What is ratio? That's the same kind. We're comparing same kind, and rate is different kind. Now we will progress to our revision. In your revision for term 1, we're looking at associative, commutative, and distributive properties. Now, if you look at 1.1a, we have brackets here. And if you notice carefully, 2 times 5 plus 3, we're now saying 2 times 5 and then 2 times 3. So we're distributing the 2 into the bracket for both 5 and 3. So your first answer will be distributive. Your second answer, 4 times 3 is equal to 3 times 4. So the order of the multiplication is not important. 4 times 3 is 12. 3 times 4 is also 12. So that is commutative. The order is not important. And the last one is associative. The grouping, you can group 7 and 2, or you can group 2 or 2 plus 3. The answer will still give you 12 in both. 7 plus 2 is 9, plus 3 is 12, or you can go 2 plus 3 is 5 plus 7. That gives you 12. The next concept we're looking at is 1.2. We need to state whether true or false. No reasons are required. So we're looking at 41 is a prime number. What is a prime number? A prime number is a number that has only 2 factors, 1 and itself. So we look at the number 3. 1 is a factor of 3 and 3 is a factor of 3. So 2 cannot go into 3 exactly, or the exact number of times. We look at 4. 4 is not a prime number because 1 can go into 4, 2 can go into 4, as well as 4 can go into 4. So 4 has 3 factors. So your factors. So we look at 4. The factors of 4 are 1, 2, and 4. So because there are 3 factors, then 4 is not a prime number. If you look at, for example, the number 7, 7 has the following factors. It has 1 and 7, only 2 factors. So she means 7 is a prime number. So if we look at 41, it is a prime number. So the answer is true. It has only 1 and 41 as its factor. 9 is not a prime number because 9 has many factors. What are the factors of 9? 9 has the following factors. 1 can go into 9, 3 can go into 9, and 9 can go into 9. So these are the factors of 9. So 9 is not a prime number. So this is false. The answer is true. This answer is false. 2 is the only even number that is prime. Now, if you look at 2, 2 has only two factors, 1 and 2 itself. So 2 cannot be a prime number. Sorry, 2 is a prime number because 2 has only two factors. Sorry about that. 2 has only two factors, 1 and itself. So here are the factors of 2. 2 is 1 and two other factors of 2. So it is therefore a prime number. So the answer to this one will be true. There are two factors, so true. 2 is only even prime number. 1 is the identity element for addition. The answer will be true there because we learned that the identity element for addition will not change addition, and 1. Sorry, a mistake again. (41) is a prime number, as 41 has only two factors, 1 and 41. So a prime number is a number that has only two factors. So it's true, 41 is a prime number. The next one is 9. 9 is not a prime number, so the answer is false. Now, why is 9 not a prime number? Because 9 has more than two factors. The factors of 9 are 1, then we have 3. 3 can go into 9, as well as 9 can go into 9. So 9 has 3 factors. So the answer is false. 2 is only even number that is prime. The answer is true. 2 has only two factors, 1 and itself, which is 2. 1 and 2 are the factors of 2. So it's a prime number. Remember, a prime number has only two factors. 1 is the identity element for addition. And if you look at addition, if the number was 4, 4 plus 1 is equal to 5. So the identity element for addition is actually 0 because 4 plus 0 is 4. The identity element, the purpose of an identity element is not to change the original number. So 1 is not the identity element for addition. 1 is actually the identity element for multiplication. The answer is false. 1 is the identity element for multiplication, not addition. The identity element for addition is 0. So remember that. Now the next concept we're looking at is the calculation. Now for the calculation, you can use your calculator or you can do it mentally. For the purposes of time, you are allowed to use your calculator in the exam, so you can do it with the calculator for now. But for homework, always try to do this mentally, if possible. 2,752, there's two positive numbers. You add your positive numbers, you add your negative numbers, and you take your positive numbers and subtract all the negative numbers. Here we got 45 divided by 0. Now you cannot divide by 0. So this is undefined. Although we're adding a plus 3, but this entire expression is undefined because we're trying to divide by 0. And if you use your calculator, it will show you that it is undefined. An error comes up if you type this in a calculator. An error means undefined. So we look at it, 45 divided by 0. Even if you try adding a 3, it still gives you an error. An error would mean undefined. The additive inverse of 2 will be -2, because 2 plus -2 will give you your identity element of 0. So the additive inverse for 2 will be -2. The multiplicative inverse of 2 is 1/2, because 2 times 1/2, that's a half. 2 times a half will give you 1. Now we're working with the HCF and LCM. We have numbers 48 and 60. Now, in order to calculate HCF and LCM, we need to work out the product of the prime factors. So it says write down 48 and 60 as a product of prime factors. So your first step, boys and girls, always read each question. Read the entire question and each sub-question, and then you answer. So it says consider the numbers 48 and 60. Write down 48 and 60 as a product of prime factors. Then they have here, what is the HCF of 48 and 60? What is the LCM of 48 and 60? This is one question. So in the first part of the question, they say, write it as a product of prime factors. So we're looking at your answers. To write as a product, in A part, you're writing as a product of prime factors. To do that, you have to divide by your prime factors. Now you start with the lowest prime number. So when you are doing this, it's sometimes easier to write down your prime numbers. 2, the next prime number is 3, 5, 7, right? 8, 9, 10 are not prime numbers. The next one is 11, and so on. So we'll take the lowest prime number. The lowest prime number is 2. Can 2 go into 48? Yes, 2 divides into 48 exactly 24 times. Then 2 divides into 24, 12 times. 2 divides into 12, 6 times. 2 divides into 6, 3 times. Now, can 2 divide into 3? No. So we're taking our next prime number. So you take your first prime number and you complete the division. When the first prime number cannot divide into the number that's left over, you go for your second prime number. So 3 divides into 3 one time. Once you have 1 as your final answer, then you have completed. These are your prime factors. And you can test. 48 is equal to 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 3. Here's it. And if you multiply this will give you an answer of 48. If you're multiplying your prime factors and you do not get 48, then you know you have made a mistake somewhere here. Now the next number, 60, we start with the lowest prime number, which is 2. You divide 2 goes into 60, 30 times. 2 goes into 30, 15 times. Now 2 cannot go into 15, so I'm going for my next prime number, which is 3. 3 goes into 15 5 times. Now 3 cannot go into 5, so I'm going for the next prime number, which is a 5. 5 goes into 5 1 time. If you look at the order of the prime numbers, it's the lowest prime number moving up. So your prime factors are 2 times 2 times 3 times 5. There's it. That's your prime factors. And if you multiply these numbers, they're going to give you 60. So 2.1a needed the prime factors. So using prime factorization, we're able to obtain the prime factors. Now the second question asks you to work out the HCF. When you're working out the HCF, here's your question again. What is the HCF of 48, highest common factor of 48 and 60? There is no need to work out prime factors again. You've done it here. This is one whole question. So in this sub question, we simply work out the HCF, the highest common factor. Now your highest common factor is when you're taking one of each. Right? It's the highest common factor. You take one of each. So if you're looking at one of each, this is the way we can write it. Right, we have 48 is equal to 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 3. Sorry. We have that for 48. Then we have 60. 60 is equal to, it's 2 times 2. You write the numbers below the corresponding numbers. Times 3 times 5. So these are your factors, prime factors for 48 and 60. I wrote them here. Now to work out the HCF, you look at the examples that are Let me use a different color pen for you. Okay, we're going to look at the examples that are in a line. So there's 2 and 2, there's another 2, and there's 3. Those are the common ones. So that's your highest common factor. So these are your factors that are common. So that's 2 times 2 times 3. That gives you 12. That's your highest common factor. When it comes to lowest common multiple, you're taking multiple values, right? Multiple values. So we're going to take one of each. So generally, we're going to take one from here. That's 2 times 2, 1 on this row, 1 on that, column, 1 on this column, and 1 on that. So you're taking one of each. So there's 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 times 4 2's multiplied. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4. Then we're multiplying by the 3 and then by the 5. So your lowest common multiple is a larger number. So you're taking multiple numbers here, or multiple of these factors. So it's your lowest common multiple that gives you 240. The next question. This has to do with ratio. Right? In a large slab of chocolate, there are 32 blocks. Divide the blocks of chocolate between Tom and Jones in the ratio 3:5. Now, when you're dividing, it means you're sharing between Tom and Jones. Now, in the ratio 3:5. So how many parts of chocolate do we have? We've got 32 blocks. That is actually 8 parts. 3 plus 5 is 8. There's 8 parts of chocolate in the 32. And we need to give 3 parts to Tom and 5 parts to Jones. So you work out your total parts, and then you work out 3 out of the full parts for Tom and 5 out of the total parts for John. So if you're looking at your answer, so your total parts is 3 plus 5, which is 8. So Tom is, of the 32, you're giving him 3 parts. So 32 times 3 over 8, which gives you 12. And Jones is 32 times 5 over 8, which is 20. And so your total parts were 8, but it's 3 out of 8 for Tom and 5 out of 8 for Jones. That's one way of working out. You are allowed to use another method, but I'm going to focus on this, where it's the number of parts out of the total parts times the amount. So 3 out of 8 times 32, 5 out of 8 times 32. That gives you 12 and 20. When you add this, 20 plus 12 gives you 32. So you know you have shared all 32 blocks between Tom and Jones. So you know your answer is correct. The next question has to do with ratio. We're comparing kilometers to hours. They're 2 different quantities. This was the same quantity. It was chocolates. This is 2 different types, kilometers and hours. So working with DST or DSTV, you know your distance is speed times time. But you have to read the question and see whether you are working out the distance, whether you're working out the speed or the time. If you're working out speed, it's distance over time. So here is your DST. DST, your distance, speed, and times. Now, how long would it take to travel 540 kilometers? So David drives a car at a speed of 90 kilometers an hour, but we want to know how long it would take to travel. The idea is how long it will take to travel 540 kilometers. So you're given the distance. The distance is 540 kilometers. If we want to know time, how long? Time is distance over speed. You're working on time, so your time will be, there's time, so we need to know distance over speed will give you time. So if we look at our answer that we have, and your time is distance over speed. That's your time. So 540 divided by 90 gives you 6 hours. Now the next one you had to work out was what distance would you travel in 2.5 hours? Here you're given the time. You still have the speed here. You're given the time. So we got speed and we got time. So we need to know what distance is going to travel. So distance is speed times time. So this distance is speed times time. So speed is 90 times 2.5 hours. So 90 times 2.5 hours, there's it, speed times time. There's 90 times 2.5, which is 225 kilometers. The next question is to do with the price of a shirt, which is 120 Rand. The price increased in the ratio 3:2. Calculate the new price. Now, this is increase ratio. Now, with increase and decrease ratio, boys and girls, it's always the ratio times the amount. And ratios can be written as a fraction. So 3:2 is 3 divided by 2 as a fraction. So 3 divided by 2 times your shirt, or your shirt times 3 divided by 2. The order is not important. Remember commutative property in terms of what we're multiplying first. So it'll be 3/2 times 120, or 120 times 3/2. Now, even if its price decreases or the ratio decreases, it will be the same idea. Your ratio times your price of your shirt. So basically it's your ratio times your price of your shirt. So there's a ratio. 3:2 is 3/2 times the shirt price. So 120 times 3/2 is 180. 2 goes into 120, 60 times 3, 180, or you can use your calculator for this exams. Now we're looking at question 3. Question 3. A shopkeeper buys a watch for 120 and sells it for 300. What profit does he make? So he buys a watch for 120 and sells it for 300. So think about it. If you're buying something and you're selling it for a higher price, then your profit will be the difference between the amount you sold and the one you bought. Your profit is the difference between your selling price and your cost price. So it's 300 minus 120, which is 180. He made 180 Rand profit by selling this watch that he paid 120 for 300. So it's 300 minus 120, which is 180. Now we're looking at conversions. Nancy goes to visit her grandmother in Spain. The exchange rate is 17.95 to a euro. If she has 5,000 with her, 5,000 rands with her, how many euros will she have to spend? Now in this examples with money on exchange rate, it's always either you multiply or you divide. So in this case, you're 17 Rand to 1 euro. So in order to get how many euros, it should be 5,000 divided by 17 Rand 95 to give you your euros, because you're going to have much less euros, because for 1 euro, it's 17 Rand for the euro. So if you have, okay, let's say 18 Rand. So if you have 36 Rand, you're only going to get 2 euros. So this figure is going to be smaller. And the only way you can get 5,000 to be smaller is by you dividing. So give you an idea that you have to divide. So looking at our answer is 5,000 divided by 17.95 to give you your euros. If at any point, depending on the exchange rate, like the Rand to the rupees, you find that you multiplying. So you need to see, it's 17 Rands to 1 euro. So it's a smaller, you need to bring your Rands down to a smaller number of euros. So we divide. If it was 17 Rand to 200, for example, rupees, then you'll have to multiply to bring your rand to a higher amount. So here we have to divide. Your next question has to do with higher purchase. Now, with higher purchase, you're buying something and you need to pay interest because you cannot afford to pay for the item in full. So Jane buys a television for 6,000 rand. She pays 1,200 deposit and pays 20% interest on her, should be her purchase. Now, when you have a question like this, you have to read the whole question before you start answering. Now, this tells you about Jane buying 6,000 rand TV or television. She's paying a deposit. You need to understand the concept of paying. If you're paying for a deposit, it means you won't owe 6,000 anymore. She's going to pay some money off. And then she's going to pay interest. And interest is 20%. Percent means divide by 100. So these are the concepts you need to remember. Now, A says calculate the balance owing after deposit. B says determine the total amount owed inclusive of interest. So in the A part, there's nothing about interest. The interest is in the B part. C wants to pay off in 12 months. How much is going to pay monthly? And D, she can only afford to pay 320 a month. How many months will it take her to pay the amount of? So if you look at overall, the interest only required for now in question B, 3.3b. The deposit they're talking about in 3.3a. So breaking down the question now to answer, it says calculate the balance owing after paying deposit. So if you have 6,000 and you're paying 1,200 deposit, it should be it should be 6,000 that you owe minus 1,200, and that will give you 4,800. So that's your deposit. You have paid your deposit of 1,200, so you only owe 4,800. You can't owe more. You have to be owing less. Right? You can't owe more. You need to owe less because you have paid some amount off. Now the next one, determine the total amount owed inclusive of interest. Now we owe 4,800, but you have to pay a 20% interest. It says you pay 20% interest. Now you don't pay interest on the 6,000 or on the 1,200. You pay interest on what you owe. What do you owe? You owe 4,800. So you're going to pay 20% interest on the 4,800. And when you work out the interest, it's the interest you're going to pay, plus you still have to pay the 4,800 because they want you to work out the total amount owed. So you're paying the interest as well as the amount, that 4,800. So it's 4,800 and the interest. So I'm just going to write this here for now. So if you look at B, you need to work out the interest. The interest is 20%, which is 20 divided by 100. Percent means divide by 100 times your 4,000, times 4,000, yes, 4,800. That's the amount you owe. So you have to work out your 20% of 4,800, and this will give you 960. Now, if that's your interest, right? This is your interest. Okay, this is right here. This is your interest. Now, it does not mean you only owe 4,960. It does not mean that, because this is an interest. You were owing 4,800. So you were owing 4,800. So you can't just be owing 960. So the total amount that you owe, your amount owed, is actually both your 4,800 plus your 960. That's the amount you owe. And so that's the amount that you owe, and that will give you right? That's 60, that's 7, 5, sorry, 5, 7, 576. So that's the amount that you owe. That's all in B. Then C asks you if she pays the total amount of in 12 months. Now we need to pay the total amount of in 12 months. That's just C part. The total, what amount are we talking about? We're talking about this amount here. We have to pay this amount of here in 12 months. So if you're paying in 12 months, it's amount divided by 12 to give you your answer. The amount, right, that you have, we're going to use the calculator, 5760 divided by 12. Sorry, this. So we got 5760 divided by 12. Now you got 480. Now there's your calculator, 5760 divided by 12, which is 480. So that's 480. So this is, if she pays the total amount of in 12 months, calculate a monthly installment, it means she has to pay 480. Now the next one, if she can only afford to pay 320 Rand a month, how many months will it take her to pay off? Now she can't, if we're assuming she can't pay 480 a month, but she can only pay 320, then she's not going to take 12 months. She's going to take longer than 12 months because she's paying a smaller amount. So for this question is, if you only pay 320 a month, how many months? So your total amount divided by 320 for each month will give you the number of months. So it'll be 5760 divided by 320. So if you're looking at your final answer for everything that we've done, right, so your total amount, we said, we're going through it quickly. Your balance, you subtract, you get 4,800. We work out an interest first, which was 960, and you add that to give you 5760. And you divide 5760 by 12 months, you need to pay 480 a month. But remember, we said she can't afford 480. So if she's paying 320 instead, so 5760 divided by 320 gives you 18 months. And 18 months is 1 year, 6 months. And that's your payment for 18 months. So that answers all the questions for the assignment. Now, a little bit of revision in terms of your next section that we're testing you as well is your integers. So you'll be tested on integers. Here you may use your calculator to check your answers. Now, if you look at this first example, fill in the relationship signs where there's less than or greater than to make the statements true. Now you need to know less than is like your L shaped. You look at your less than sign, it's like writing the capital letter L, and that's your greater than. So remember your signs firstly. Right. So your less than sign is similar to writing your capital letter L. Right. And your capital letter L is similar to your less than sign. So that's your less than. So if you're looking at your numbers here, negative 307. Normally 307 is greater than 240. But if there's a negative sign in front, it means it is less than. This negative 307 will be less than 240. Now, if you look at negative 123 will be less than, because less than. The negative, the larger the number is, and if it's a negative number, it will be less than and not normally when we say greater than. So in positive numbers, the larger number is greater, but in negative numbers, the larger number is negative. It's less than. Now 0 is greater than. It's not less than, so it's the opposite sign. It's greater than negative 20. Now minus 19 we have here, and we have a 5. So minus 19 is a lower number than 5. Also think about your number line. Your number line, we have 5 here, and obviously minus 19 is here. And any number on the left-hand side, on this side of the number line, is lower than numbers on the right-hand side. So always remember, in your number line, the negative numbers go further down. They're lower than the ones that are on your right. So the numbers on your left are lower than the numbers on your right. So as long as the numbers on your left, it's a less than sign. So if you look at positive 4 and negative 87, negative 87 is going to be on this side. The 4 is going to be on that side, which means the 4 is greater than that. It's not less than. So in that case, the 4 will be greater than. And negative 29 and negative 35, both the negatives on this side of the number line. Your negatives on this side, but we have negative 35 right on this end and negative 29 here, which means 29 will be bigger than 35. So we'll have like a negative 29 here, sorry. We'll have like negative 29 here, but then we're going to have your negative 35 further down the line. So there's your number line. Your negative 35 is going to be further down the line. So negative 35 will be less than negative 29. So this is less. So this is a larger number. So we're going to use a greater than sign because this is larger than that. So always think about your number line as well as the rule. The larger the negative number, the smaller it is. So we can use that rule as well. Arrange these integers in ascending order. The idea is the same here. Think about this as a number line. And where negative 3 will be, where will positive 2 be? So if you draw a number line, positive 2, if you're going to assume that we have a, sorry, we have a 0 here, then we have a positive 2 on this side. You get your order. And your negative 10 will be somewhere around here. It doesn't have to be precise. You need to have an idea as to where the numbers are. This is a rough number line. Then you know your negative 7 is going to be before negative 10. But they also say a negative 9 here. So I'm going to put a negative 7 here. Then I'm going to have a positive 6, which is further down the line. Then I'm going to have a positive 3. And 3 will be between 2 and 6, somewhere around there. Then we have a negative 5, which is down the line here. It is before negative 7. It's between 0 and negative 7 is negative 5. Then we have a negative 9. So I can put the negative 9 on this side because we're going to go 7, obviously 8, 9, 10. Then we have a positive 8, which is on this side. So if you have this mentally or visually, then you can see to arrange in ascending order. Ascending order means from lowest to highest. You're ascending a stairs, you're going up a stairs. If you forget what ascend means, think of descend. Descend means going down from highest to lowest. So this will be the opposite. This will be from lowest going up to the highest. That's what that one will be, lowest to highest. So your lowest number is minus 10 or negative 10. And then if you did your number line correctly, you can use the numbers from here. Negative 10, negative 9, negative 7, negative 5. When there was no 0, or there is a 0 here as well. So you can use 0, 2, 3, 6, and then 8. 8 is the highest and negative 10 is the lowest. So you can use a number line to help you. Now, when it comes to your calculations, these ones you can do it mentally, you can do it with the calculator. The rules for multiplication of integers, addition of integers and subtraction of integers. Firstly, when you're working with integers like this, negative 3 plus 7, you can use your calculator. So we're going to go, I'm clearing this out. We're going to go negative 3 plus 7. Negative 3 plus 7 will give you your answer of 4. If you're doing it mentally it will be, we have negative 3 and positive 7. There, which number is larger of? There is a larger number of positive or negative? It's a larger number of positive. If there's a larger number of positive, that means your answer is going to be positive. And how many more positive? 7 minus 3 is 4. There are 4 more positive. So the answer is a positive 4. If you look at your answer, the answer was a positive 4 because there's more positive numbers. And if you remember in class, I spoke to you about a bag of negatives and bag of positives. The bag of positives, there are more positives. And there are 4 more positives. Now here it gets a little bit more involved because we're looking at working with multiplication as well as addition. So when you see brackets, work with multiplication. And your rules for multiplication, to remind you about your rules for multiplication. Right, when it comes to multiplication, we said a positive times a positive will give you a positive answer. And negative times a negative will also give you a positive answer. So same signs will give you a positive answer. But if it's different signs, like a positive number times a negative number, you're going to get a negative answer. Or even a negative times a positive is going to give you a negative answer. So this is different signs. Right. The same signs means a positive answer, different signs, negative answer. Now here we have negative and negative. That gives you a positive answer. So I'm going to work out just one for you, and then you can use your calculator to work out the rest. So this, we're looking at B. I'm going to start from the second step. It will be 4. We have a negative times a negative, so that becomes positive 8. And we have, that's 2 of the same signs, gives you a positive 8. Now we've got 2 different signs. A positive times a negative, which means now a negative 2. Then you're working your answer. Now it's all about grouping because it is addition. It's no longer the rules for multiplication or division. It's grouping because it's all addition or subtraction. So there's 4 and 8. There's 12 positive, and there's just 2 negative. In total, we have 12 positive and 2 negative, gives you an answer of 12 minus 2, which is 10. So to recap here, the negative and negative gave you the positive, and positive and negative gave you a negative. But multiplying this now using your calculator, all right, if we had to clear it very quickly, we got 4 minus 8 plus minus 2. So we've got 4 minus, in brackets, we have a minus 8. We got a closed bracket. And we got, I think it is a plus minus 2, sorry. Say plus, watch this here, plus, in brackets, there's a minus 2. And close brackets. So it's 4 minus negative 8 plus negative 2. And gives you an answer of 10. There's your answer 10. And that's your answer of 10. So you can do it mentally. You can use your calculator for the purpose of this test. Right, that would be up to you. If you have a calculator, you will save some time. But whenever we have homework and classwork, remember, do it mentally. So you can sharpen your mental skills in terms of working with integers. And year 2 is just grouping. Here is multiplication, and negative times a negative. Like signs gives you a positive answer. There's negative times a positive will give you a negative answer because the unlike signs is negative answer. Division, there's like signs, you're going to get a positive answer. Negative 44 divided by negative 4, give you a positive 11. Now we're working with you will also get cube root, cubes, squares, square root. This too, we can use the calculator. So the cube root of 27 is what number multiplied by itself 3 times will give you 27. The answer is 3, because 3 times 3 times 3 gives you 27. So we're looking at the calculator. The negative sign is outside, so you only find the cube root of a positive 27. So we have cube root here of 27. Right, just to delete that, cube root of 27. There's the answer. Cube root of 27 is 3. The next one, we're looking at, it's negative cube root, sorry. So you can simply put in a negative sign at the beginning. So we'll clear that. It was negative, then the cube root of 27. You get a negative 3. But you can work out cube root of 27 and you put in a negative sign because it's a negative in front. When you're finding the squares and cubes, we'll do a little bit of work here. Squares and cubes, calculator work. So we want to square something. It depends on your calculator. There's squares, there's cubes. If you're working with cube, right, so you may have to put the number in first. So I'm going to just square, say, -2. I will square. And I need to square -2. There's it, -2 squared. You need to check after you type in your figures according to your calculator how it's written. So -2 squared is 4. If I want -3 squared, then I'm going to have -3. First, put it in brackets. Then I want to square -3. If I want to find the cube, that too I will, if it's a negative number, put it in brackets. And then you find the cube. If the sign is outside brackets, then you'll have negative, then you open the bracket. And then you can square it or cube it. Then it's cubing what's in the bracket, which is 8, and the negative sign still stays there. So you need to do some calculator work with all of these integers. So these are your sections that will be tested. So revise your assignment and work with integers. And all the best for your test. So that's whole numbers covered as well as integers. Have a lovely day, boys and girls. Until I see you again. Thank you.